Family, family. It's your boy, Dr. Williams, Practical Purpose Podcast. Eyes tired. Eyes be tired. Listen, it's been a long day. I've been out cutting people grass this morning. Felt like it was 120. Did a couple yards. Got home and then the internet started acting up. I don't know. It just seemed like whenever I get ready to go live, something just start acting up. So if we get knocked out or something like that, because there's some storms look like they coming, y'all just have a good weekend. We ain't getting back on. Hey, go on and like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. I need y'all to go on and like. It's like going in somebody's house. You go in the house, wipe your feet at the door. Like, go on and share. Fresh cut. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I had to get it, man. Listen, barbers are hard to find. So my barber actually retired, and then I went and one of my former basketball players has been cutting my hair, and he's gonna continue to. But he's always on the other side of town, so I had to try somebody on this side of town. And boy, he did surgery. He did surgery on your boy. He did surgery. Yeah, we in the dungeon. We in the dungeon. We in the dungeon. Man, y'all go in and share. Take the link, share it in your text message, share it on Facebook, share it on IG, wherever you at. Go in and share because we got some heavy stuff to talk about tonight. We got some heavy stuff to talk about tonight. We're gonna be talking about finishing this series on dealing with difficulty, and we're going to be talking about making difficult decisions. All right, and that's something that is relatable to everybody. And so go out and share that. We're going to be talking about. We got a question of the day that my brother B Sump sent me. I'm gonna go on and call his name because this question right here, this question is gonna get some people in some trouble come Sunday when you get back in the house of the Lord. So go ahead and share. Shout out. I got to give my friend. I got 2 shout outs tonight. One in the beginning and one at the end. But I got to shout out. They done changed stuff on my streaming. So I got to figure out how to get to certain things again. So if you see me delayed, it ain't because I'm slow. It's just I'm still learning this software. I got to shout out my brother, part of the Dungeon family, Raynard Ollie Jefferson, principal Watkins Nance, principal Watkins Nance. Man, listen, go to his Facebook, show him love, send him some messages. If you're in the Dungeon family, show him some love. Because he's embarking on something great. He's embarking on something great, and he needs to know that we got his back. We got his back. Dave Chappelle said, "We got your back," like the Verizon man. You understand? Prophetess, yes, ma'am. I'm glad the church people showing up. I need prophetess. Go on and get some more church folk in here. Well, they they need to hear this conversation that we about to have because we about to have a good one. My sister Ryan Kirkland. Ryan, my mama asked about you today. Actually, you need to call her. My boy, Yes, sir. Much love, man. So y'all go on to Facebook, look up Raynard Jefferson, show him some love. Because we got his back. We got his back. We got his back. Whatever you need, brother. We got his back. Listen, let's go on and dig in so we can be off in an hour. Let's go on and dig in. Listen, church folk, y'all get on my nerves. Y'all get on my nerves, church folk. Here's why. Y'all get on my nerves.
Let me in their family, because I guess my family just kicked me out. They mad at me because they wanted me to sing Marvin Sapp Never Would Have Made It at my little cousin's funeral. Where did he make it to? And don't say heaven, because my little cousin had the same motive as the devil. All he did all his life was steal, kill, and destroy. No, I'm not, because he didn't make it to heaven. So stop lying. So I gotta find another family. Y'all post and tell me who family I can join, because I'm out of mine.
Listen, that's hilarious to me. Listen, that is hilarious to me. Listen, here's the question of the day sent in by my brother. Question of the day. Here it is. Why do black Christians place everyone who died in heaven? You got some people on the screen. Yeah, you see Pat Robertson over there. Y'all know Pat Robertson was. Everybody grandma used to watch Pat Robertson. 700 Club. I don't even know what 700 Club mean, but it came on TBN. Pat Robertson. And you see the great Jim Brown, Jimmy, activist, black activist. Then you see Tina, old Tina Turner, Roland, Jerry Springer. Listen, why we put everybody in heaven? Now, I just threw those names out there because those people are people who passed away this year. But why do we do that? Black Christians, why talk to me in the chat? Why do we put everybody in heaven? I think that might be an issue. It might be an issue. It might be an issue. Like everybody who died, they don't go there. They don't go there. Listen, some of us that we live incredible lives. We do a lot of great things. We do a lot of good things. But you know, it's a lot of good people that's not in heaven. Y'all know that, right? Here we go. Good answer to comfort the family. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard ministers at funerals who have said whatever they needed to say to give comfort to the family. Right? I've seen that. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. That prophetess, I expected something else coming from you. I'm gonna wait till you say something else. I know you're saying, because they want people to think the Christian walk is all sunshine, roses, and candy, and just saying somebody was good, get them in the pearly gates. Yeah, but it don't really work like that, right? It don't work like that, and none of us are perfect. See, one thing that I think, I'm not gonna go all the way in. I'm waiting till the Dungeon Family chat. Listen, one thing that I think is when we do that, right? Although that may be comforting in the moment, one thing that it does though is it waters down the plan of salvation. Like, why are you teaching Acts 2:38? Why are you teaching Romans 10:9 if everybody just getting in? Right? Like, why are you even inviting people to the church if everybody getting in? You know, and in fact, Jesus kind of talked about that. Jesus said, "There's going to be some people that say, Lord, Lord, I've prophesied in your name. I done cast out demons in your name." And he gonna say, "Depart from me. I ain't never know who you was." And you know, the scary part of that is that's some of our pastors. That's some of us. That's scary. That's scary. So there's some things you got to do as a prerequisite, right? But it's just interesting. Everybody who died, black folk, we just put them, I know such and such looking down. They might not be. They might be looking up. They might be looking up at you. But we do that. We put everybody, and I understand the motive. A lot of times it's good, it's goodwill. We're seeking. Here's the culprit. We're seeking to give some comfort to people. And I think in those times, it's ways that you give comfort, but I think when you start to do that too much, you begin to water down the gospel. Right. In fact, I said in a chat, I'm not gonna mention whose chat it was, because they were doing a live stream, and they were saying, listen, we got to preach the gospel, preach the gospel. And I asked in the chat, what is the gospel? Can you explain it? Because the average church does not teach the gospel because they don't know what it is. Everything that's preached on Sunday is not the gospel. Oh, here, I skipped a couple comments. I'm sorry. I had to speak at a funeral. I spoke about the person and I left where he is going out of it. That's God's business, not mine. That's right. We ain't got no heaven or hell to put nobody in. We sure don't. And you know what? We don't really know what decision a person made. We can infer, we can guess based off of how they live their life, but all of us got some closet skeletons. Right, all of us got some things that we got to work on. All of us have sinned and fall short, right? And you got to be careful, especially if you want in one of these churches that's teaching you that you're perfect and that you're on the same level with Jesus. That's a problem, because you ain't. I hate to tell you that. If everybody getting in, why do we even have church event? Right. And again, Pecan, I'm gonna say the scary part about it is there are gonna be people there that we didn't think would be there, and there are gonna be people that we're gonna be looking for that's not gonna be there. I'm not gonna say that again. We all dirty, right? Grace, we all got it. Our righteousness within itself is what? What is it? What did Isaiah say our righteousness is? Put that in the chat. Somebody put that in the chat. Sweep around your own front door. Right. Y'all, we gotta be proponents of teaching people the truth. We say it, we don't teach it. Right. It's heartbreaking. Some people that we think gonna be there. And the sad part is some of those people are behind the podium and on the pulpits every Sunday. And he's gonna say, I never knew you. They're gonna say, I prophesied in your name. You gotta watch them prophesying people. You gotta watch them, because we come around, they got groups of people around them, but if you notice in the Bible, they ain't like when the prophet came around, because he rarely had nothing good to say. Right. He said they're gonna say, Lord, Lord, and they ain't getting in. Gotta be careful. I would suggest, this is my suggestion, don't put your mouth on people, because you don't know. You can infer from the life that you saw, from the things that you said, the conversations you may have had with those people, but you don't know. You leave those decisions. We're talking about difficult decisions in a minute. You leave those decisions up to the person that's got somewhere to put you. Right? Right? Y'all blowing up the chat. I can't even hit all of these comments. Listen, that was the question of the day sent by my brother. Be some, and it's a good question. It's a good question. And one thing that we do here on the Practical Purpose Podcast, we're gonna tackle some things that people don't want to talk about. We're gonna tackle some things that people are not going to talk about, especially church folk. Things that we just don't want to do. It's a book. I'm gonna talk about that book shortly. My friend Sir Walter Jones did a little expose on the book, and it's called The Dark Side of the Black Church. And we're going to take a look at some of the things that's in that book as we move forward. But listen, that was a good question. Tonight, we're going to finish up our series on difficulty. And we're going to finish up by talking about making difficult decisions. We're going to talk about that in about 45.
1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2. We living life with a practical purpose, making every day worth it. Live from the dungeon, we go deeper than the surface, leading with wisdom from the street to the churches. Searching, what seeking you find? We speaking right to your mind. The sun ain't fighting to shine, no diamonds either. Light hit the Jews and turn fools to believers. Steady making moves and teaching truth to the leaders. Use all these tools just so you can supersede us. It's ill. Yeah. Say 1, 2. Yeah. Say 1, 2. Yeah. Yeah. For real.
All right, here we go. We're talking about difficult decisions. Now, before we really dig into making difficult decisions, we're not just talking about decisions that you make every day. Okay, we're not just talking about decisions that you make every day. Y'all, the chat just went away. I can't see nothing in the chat no more. We're not just talking about decisions that you make every day. We're talking about these decisions that I call trajectory decisions, right? These are decisions that you make that change the trajectory of where you're going, right? These are decisions that don't come around every single day, but they're decisions that you have to practice and develop a skill set in order to be able to make. Right, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that tonight. Again, I can't see the chat. I don't know what happened to the chat. It's gone. I can't see the chat anymore. But keep putting stuff in the chat. Listen, difficult decision. Nothing is more difficult or more precious than the ability to be able to decide. Let me say that again. Bonaparte says this: nothing is more difficult or more precious than the ability to be able to decide. One of the greatest gifts that we have on earth is the ability to make a decision, the ability to choose, right? The decisions that we make actually reflect our evaluation of who we are. Right. So when we begin to make decisions, what we're really doing is we're telling people who we think we are, what we think about ourselves based off of the decisions that we make. So decisions are critical. Decisions are critical because without the ability to make decisions in our lives, people don't know, and we oftentimes can't come to grips or to the reality of who we are and who we are supposed to be. Right? So decisions are critical. Successful decision making relies on the balance between deliberate and instinctive thinking. Listen, if you cannot critically think, you're not going to be a good decision maker. I'm gonna figure out what's going on with this chat in a second. If you cannot critically think, you cannot be a decision maker. And so it's critical and it's imperative for us to understand the importance of making decisions. When I began to try to talk about or figure out how I would talk about difficult decisions, I struggled for a few days about how to define what a difficult decision is. I struggled with that. And so what I did was, based off some advice from a wise counsel, Pecan, she said, don't define difficult decision as one thing, define them separately. So what is a decision? A decision is the conclusion or resolution reached after consideration. Let me say that again. A decision is the conclusion or resolution reached after consideration. So a decision is something that we take time to ponder, to critically think about before we make. All right. But what is difficult? See, difficult is all about perspective, because what's difficult for me may not be difficult for you. But Webster's definition of difficult sheds some light on some things that cause me to think. Difficult, according to Webster, is needing much effort or skill to accomplish. That's interesting. Something that's difficult needs much effort or skill to accomplish. And here's the critical problem with making difficult decisions: because we don't make them all the time, oftentimes we don't realize that we have not developed the required skill set that's needed in order to make difficult decisions. Listen, if difficult things require skill, why don't we consider the fact that making a difficult decision requires a skill set that we don't practice regularly? Listen, anything that's difficult requires a skill set. It requires a skill set. And if you don't take time to fine tune, to hone in on the skills that's needed to make difficult decisions, watch this, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going backwards or you're staying stagnant for a long period of time. You've got to practice the ability, the skill set that is needed to make difficult decisions. It's a skill set. Listen, and that's why everybody can't be leaders. Everybody can't be leaders because everybody does not possess the skill set to make difficult decisions. And the greatest leaders are those leaders who have developed the skill set and have the toolkit to make difficult decisions. Listen, making difficult decisions is an opportunity to develop our character. Let me say that again. Making difficult decisions is an opportunity to develop our character. Listen, the only way that you're going to know who you are, the only way that you're going to know what you actually possess is when you start the process of making difficult decisions. And the more you make those decisions, the more you either realize you're not cut from the cloth you thought you were, or you are. Right. That's why when I shouted out my brother Reynard, that's why I said we got to have his back, because there are going to be some difficult decisions that he's going to have to make in that role, and he's going to need a support system. Listen, and the problem with many of us when it comes to making difficult decisions, because we don't like people in our business, because we don't like people talking about what we're going through and what we're facing. Watch this. Because we don't like that, we don't tap into the resources, the human resources that we have to be able to make those decisions. Sometimes you got to find somebody you can be transparent with, open with, that's going to allow you to make the wise choices when those decisions have to be made. Man, I missed the chat. I need the chat. I got to figure that out. Listen, so let's talk about two things really quickly. Let's talk about why are we so indecisive? This is because as people, oftentimes we shy away from difficulty. We shy away from development. Right. I give y'all the analogy all the time of my son who's 10, who's playing basketball and football and playing all these sports. And at an early age, I'm trying to tell him and teach him that if you don't get to a place where you shy away from difficulty, but you go into it with the perspective that difficulty is going to make me better, then you're going to put yourself ahead of everybody else that's on the same plane with you. Listen, because people generally don't want to deal with anything that's difficult, but difficulty is what develops us. And I've said before, we don't get deployed until we're developed. And the only way that we're developed is through difficulty. Listen, so when difficult decisions come, why are we so indecisive? Here's a few things. One thing is the fear of failure. We've all got that. We've all got that. The fear of failure causes us to be so indecisive. Listen, we don't want to fail at anything. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. But when you allow fear to cripple you so that you don't make those decisions, what you're doing is you're crippling your development. Right? So we are so indecisive because we have a fear of failure. And that's why that support system is so critical, because you've got to have people in your corner that have your back, that even when you fail, they're there to pick you up. We're so indecisive because of the fear of failure. Listen, we're so indecisive because of past trauma. Trauma that we've created, but also trauma that has been created and orchestrated by other people and circumstances in our life. Listen, we have past trauma when we've made decisions in our life that causes us not to be willing to step out and make difficult decisions the next time. And that's true whether or not it's in our personal life, whether or not it's in our professional life. Oftentimes we allow our past trauma and our negative thinking to cause us not to grow from trauma, but we stay planted in trauma. Right. And we've got to understand that if we're going to make difficult decisions, if we're going to get to a place where those decisions are going to inform our lives and they're going to help us to become great and move people forward and move organizations forward and move ourselves forward, then we have to let that trauma go. I'm coming to that in a second. As much as we know how to, and we have to make those decisions. Listen, the third thing that makes us so indecisive is perfectionism. You got to be perfect. Listen, nobody is perfect. Nobody has made the right decision every time. No matter what you're talking about, nobody has made the right. In fact, you can think over your life right now. Don't put nothing in the chat. You can think over your life right now, and there are some things that you have done that you regret because of having a perfectionist attitude. Listen, I've said this before. Miss Frizzle on this the Magic School Bus. I know y'all remember Magic School Bus. She said, "Make mistakes and get messy." She said, "Take chances, make mistakes, and get messy." Right? That's a word. That's a whole word, like y'all say. Take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. Listen, you can't grow until you have developed the faith to overcome the fear of failure, past trauma, and perfectionism. Listen, here's the other thing that we do that causes us to be indecisive. We're people pleasers. We're people pleasers. We can't make a decision for us because we're so concerned about what someone else has to say. And oftentimes the greatest weight that will be lifted off of your life is the weight of trying to please other people. I'm gonna say that again. Sometimes the greatest weight that can be lifted off of your life is the weight of trying to please other people. Listen, some people have an attitude like, I just don't care. And in some situations, that's a great attitude. Not in all, but in some situations, that's a great attitude because they're not concerned with pleasing people. And oftentimes we get in a situation, we find ourselves in predicaments and having to make decisions, and we automatically think about what other people are going to think about our decisions. We do it all the time. I do it. But if you're going to make wise choices and wise decisions in the face of adversity and difficulty, you can't be a people pleaser. You have to make the best choice for you and those people who are high up on your list in your inner circle based off of your relational intelligence. Listen, here's another thing that causes us to be indecisive. Loss of perspective. Like when you start to not view things from the right lens, you don't want to make decisions. Because oftentimes that's one of those the lens that we're looking at is an immediate gratification or immediate something, the immediate result, right? But oftentimes you've got to have a world view. You've got to have a broad view. You've got to have a perspective that is not based on the immediate result, but maybe based on something that's happening down the road. Right? Think about it. The reason why you ain't winning the gym is because you know if you go on Wednesday, you're not going to see no results on Thursday. Right? But if you change your perspective, you know, if I go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I do that for a month, I'm going to see something. Right? The loss of perspective causes us to be indecisive. Listen, 3 more on that. The lack of confidence. I'm going to get to that. We don't have confidence. Listen, that's why you need a support system. See, because your support system, when I talk to young folk all the time, I talk to them about the GPS of success. I talk about goals, plans, and a support system. And oftentimes your support system is there to encourage you when you don't feel confident. Listen, my wife did something to me very critical. She went to my desk and she wrote some things on my calendar that's on my desk, so that the next time I sat down, I saw them. And what it did was it encouraged me at a time where I just didn't feel like doing anymore. She encouraged me. See, because people think because you're on YouTube or you're doing a Facebook Live that it's not work. Listen, I take it serious. I work at it, right? I study. I'm constantly preparing my mind to be able to give you something of substance, right? And so you get tired and you get drained when you're doing that. And what she did was she encouraged me because of the support system. You've got to have a support system that will allow you and will give you what you need when you can't get it yourself. Listen, even when Jesus was in the wilderness, he was being tempted of the devil, and the scripture says that the angels came and ministered to him. Right. You got to have a support system that allows you to be vulnerable, and they give you what you need at a time that you can't pull it out of yourself. Right. And you got to have that if you're going to be able to make difficult decisions. Listen, last two on that. We are indecisive because we lack knowledge. Yeah, we lack knowledge. I put a leadership video out, I think last week, and I talked about one of the horrible habits that we have, especially in leadership, is we make decisions without having enough information. See, because you might not always have all the information, but we make decisions without having enough information. And oftentimes we're indecisive in our lives because we don't have the knowledge that we need. We don't have the information we need to make the decision. Here it is. Here's the last reason why we're indecisive. And we're indecisive because oftentimes there's some mental illness going on. Listen, I'm not just talking about schizophrenia and anything like that. Oftentimes, you hadn't taken care of yourself mentally. So you don't have the strength or the energy to be able to make a decision. You hadn't taken care of yourself mentally. You hadn't taken the time to sit and to be quiet and to be still. And so because you haven't done that, you don't have the mental fortitude to be able to make a decision. You drained out. You got to take care of your mental. So those are reasons why we're indecisive. But here are just 4 skills, 4 things we need to do if we're going to make the right decisions when we're in the face of adversity and difficulty. Here's the first thing. You have to have confidence in your ability, in your skill set to be able to make the decision. You got to be confident in your ability to be able to make the decision. And that only comes by making more decisions. We can't sit on the bench. We can't sit on the sideline and say, I don't want this. I don't need this. And then think we're going to be prepared when it's time to do it. You have to have the mental fortitude and the confidence in yourself and in your support system, so that you continuously make more decisions and you develop that confidence. Here's the second thing that you need to do. You need to let it go. Release and stop dwelling on the negative decisions or the bad decisions that you've made in the past. Listen, one thing I tell my daughter, one thing I tell my son when they're out there playing basketball is listen, if you're going to be a great shooter, you got to have a poor memory. You don't need to remember that you missed the last 3 shots. You keep shooting. You keep shooting. And oftentimes we've got to let it go. We've got to lay aside. That's one of my favorite texts that Paul wrote. We've got to lay aside some things in order to be able to make the best decision moving forward. Listen, you got to seek wise counsel. Here's the thing about seeking wise counsel. You have to be humble enough to seek the counsel. You got to be humble enough to say, you know what? I need help with this. Listen, I got friends right now that'll call me and say, hey, I need some help with this. I got friends right now that I'll call and say, hey, I need some help with this. You got to be humble enough to seek wise counsel. You got to take that, and sometimes that's involves taking risks. Listen, if you are afraid to take risks, you won't make difficult decisions. If you are afraid to take risks, you won't make difficult decisions. You got to take chances, Miss Frizzle. You got to make mistakes, and you've got to get messy sometimes. Listen, the fourth thing that you've got to have, the fourth skill set that you need in order to make difficult decisions is this: you got to count up the cost. You got to count up the cost. My friend Wilmot, he says this all the time, talking about David and Goliath. He says this: David counted up the cost before he threw that at Goliath. He asked the king. He said, "Listen, what I get for fighting him? What's the pros? What am I gonna get?" He ain't just go out there and sling no slingshot now. He counted up the cost. The scripture says in Matthew, I believe, it says, will you build a house without counting up the cost? If you're gonna, that's a skill set to be able to weigh the pros and the cons and to figure out which one aligns with what you feel like you're supposed to be doing. Because sometimes you may have more pros than cons, but you don't have any peace at all. And so you've got to count up the cost. You need confidence. You need to let it go. You need resilience. You need to seek wise counsel, and you need to count up the cost. And oftentimes we get tripped up with this. You have to stay committed to your decisions, but you have to stay flexible in your approach. You got to stay committed to your decisions, but you have to stay flexible in your approach, because once you make the decision, how you go about implementation might look different every time. You've got to be committed to your decisions. Listen, it's critical. It's critical. So those are the practical ways. Give me a few more minutes. Those are the practical things that we got to do as we begin to make difficult decisions. But here on the Practical Podcast, Practical Purpose Podcast, we always find it in the text. We always find it in the Bible. And so before I go there, it's a text. There's so many scriptures in the Bible that talk about being able to make critical decisions. There's so many. You got Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. You got so many texts, but I want to go to one that I don't remember reading before 2 weeks ago. Here it is. It's in the book of Psalms, chapter 25, verse 12 to 13. It says, "Who is the man who fears the Lord? Him will he instruct in the way that he should choose. His soul shall abide in prosperity, and his offspring shall inherit the land." Here, the writer gives us three things that we've got to do if we're going to make difficult decisions. Here's the first thing. He says, "Who is he that fears the Lord?" Listen, spiritually speaking, when you get ready to make difficult decisions, you have to ask the question, do I fear the Lord? Right? Scripture says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Do I fear the Lord? What does that mean? That's not talking about being scared. What that means is, am I totally submitted to the will of God in this area? See, because what I found about me, maybe not you, is I fear the Lord in some areas and not others. I fear the Lord in some areas of my life that I should, but not others. I'm not totally submitted to what it is he wants to do in my life in every area. So he says, you've got to fear the Lord. That means total submission to him. But watch this. That also means continual submission to his will. So you can fear him on Monday and not on Tuesday. This is continual submission to his will. Listen, you can't fear the Lord that you don't know. Let me say that again. You can't fear the Lord that you do not know. It's critical. How do I get to know him? Listen, you got to get to know him through opening up the letter that he wrote to us, right? You got to be careful sometimes with like just listening to worship music and things like that, because you'll get emotional and it has no spiritual effect on you at all. You've got to get to know him through what he wrote for us. All right. So the first thing that David says in the text is that if you're going to be able to make difficult decisions, you've got to factor in the fear of the Lord. You've got to fear him. That means submitting yourself totally and continually to his will. Here's the second thing he says in the text. He says, who is the man that fears the Lord? Him will he instruct in the way. Him will he instruct. You have to also accept God's instruction. That's critical. You got to accept his instruction. See, oftentimes God gives instruction to us, but we don't accept it. We don't accept it. If God says it, you got to be like Nike. Just do it. If he says it, you just do it. And oftentimes, because we are beings that need to be in control, we don't just accept the instruction from the one who's sovereign anyway, who can see around the corner that we can't. So he says you've got to accept his instruction. He said he'll instruct you, but you got to accept it. Your ability to accept God's instruction is directly tied to your fear of the Lord. See, your ability to accept it. You can hear it and not accept it. Your ability to accept the fear of the Lord, or to accept his instruction, is directly tied to whether or not you fear him in that area. See, some of us, we fear God when it comes to our money, but we don't fear him when it comes to our time. Yeah, we don't mind putting something in the plate Sunday, but that's the only time we're going to spend with him is Sunday. Your ability to accept this instruction is tied to your fear of him in that particular area of your life. You got to trust him. You got to trust that he knows more than you know. I heard a quote one time. It says the first realization that you need after you become a believer is the fact that there is a God and you're not him. You don't know. Where there's no trust, there's no reception. You're not going to receive what he's telling you when you don't trust him. You don't do that with anybody. Where there's no trust, there's no reception. And when there's no reception, what are you doing? You just roaming. When there's no trust, there's no reception. When you don't trust what he's doing in your life, you're not going to receive the instruction that he's giving you. Here's the third thing he says, so I can get out of here. Here's the third thing that he says. He says, who is the man that fears the Lord? He will instruct him in the way that he should choose. Third thing, you fear the Lord, you accept his instruction, you choose wisely. Yeah, I said that kind of cavalier, but it's not cavalier. You choose wisely. God does not take our ability to choose away. And God does not make decisions for us. My daughter sings a song. She loves it. I think I forgot who sings it, but the song says, "Who will make all my decisions for me? Jesus will." And no, he won't. You have the opportunity. You get the opportunity to choose. There's a demand on it. There's a responsibility. But you get the opportunity to choose. Think about that. A sovereign God who knows all, who can do anything, gives you the opportunity to choose. God can tell you the answer without choosing for you. Let me say that again. God can tell you the answer without choosing it for you. Didn't he do that with Israel? He said, behold, I set before you life and death. Choose life. Didn't he say that? He said, behold, I set before you life and death. Choose life. He gave you the answer. Open book test. But you still got to choose it. You still got to choose it. And that's the issue that comes up in our lives is we expect God to make the decisions for us. He don't do that. He empowers us to do it, but we still got to choose. And oftentimes you're going to make the wrong choice. You're going to make the wrong choice. We're talking about difficult decisions, big decisions today. But I say to my kids all the time, my students, daily decisions determine destiny. Right. So a lot of things when you're learning, when you're receiving teaching, it has dual application. Right. So just because we're talking about difficult decisions, don't mean you can't apply this to every decision you make. You fear the Lord in every decision. You accept his instruction and you choose wisely. Listen, the sovereign God allows us to choose. Think you get a opportunity to choose. Now, there are some of us that say, I wish I didn't have that opportunity. I wish you would just do everything for me. But if God made every difficult decision for you, you wouldn't have any character. Difficult decisions build our character. All right. So the three things from Psalm 25, 12 and 13 is fear the Lord, accept God's instruction, and choose wisely. Listen to this. Listen to this. You are the sum total of the decisions you make. I'm almost done. 3-4 more minutes. 5 maybe. You are, I don't have my chat, so I can't see what y'all saying right now. You are the sum total of the decisions you make. So if you want to be critical at anybody, you should be critical of yourself because you are the sum total of the decisions you make. T.D. Jakes says this. I heard Inky Johnson say it, but I read it in a book by T.D. Jakes called Disruptive Thinking. And he says this: you are born looking like your parents, but you die looking like your decisions. You're born looking like your parents, some of y'all, or whoever you think your parents are, and you die looking like your decisions. Listen, you look like, if there's anybody to blame, it's ourselves for the decisions that we make. Last point is our wisdom is measured by our decisions. Our wisdom is measured by this. See, God, serving God is about faith, but our faith is displayed by words. Isn't that what James said? Show me your faith by what you do. Your wisdom is measured by your decisions. But here's the critical piece. You don't crucify a person based off of their worst decision in their worst moment. We have a propensity to do that, especially church folk. Somebody made a poor choice, a bad decision, and we crucify them based off of that one decision they made in their worst moment in their life. And what we don't do is we don't develop the grace and the mercy. Did y'all know that one of the spiritual gifts in the Bible is the gift of mercy? You ever met somebody that just they're not stupid, they're not being ran over, they just know how to extend mercy. They know how to make you feel like that was not smart, but I can bounce back from that. I ain't gonna say I didn't know it. I didn't realize it until a few weeks ago. The gift of mercy. I don't know where that came from just now. Our wisdom is measured by our decisions. So you tell somebody you're smart, you tell somebody you're wise. Text says that the beginning of wisdom comes as we begin to make better decisions. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So you got to begin to work out that fear through the decisions that you make. You work out how you display how much you fear the Lord by the decisions that you make. And let me tell you something, we make poor decisions every day. All of us do. Nobody is perfect. I think Farrakhan had an intro tiny on Killer Mike's album where he said, be careful how you crucify people when they make bad choices, because it could easily be you. And that's so true. So here's your closure. Here's your homework. We're getting out of here. Here's your homework. The next difficult decision you have to make. Some of y'all gonna have to make that decision before 8 o'clock. Some of y'all gonna make it Monday when you get to the job. I want you to ask yourself 2 critical questions. I seriously, I want you to put this in your phone, write it down, put it somewhere. I want you to ask yourself these critical. Do I fear the Lord in this area? In whatever area of my life that I got to make this decision, do I really fear him? Am I totally submitted to what he wants to do? Like, if am I willing to accept whatever he says I need to do in this area? Do I fear the Lord in this area? Here's the second thing. Would I be willing to do whatever he says? My friend Barry, he said something to me some years ago when he was making a career decision. My knee hurt. And he said, he prayed a prayer. He told God, I want whatever you want for me. Man, listen, I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm there yet in every area of my life. So the next time you have a face with a difficult decision, I want you to ask yourself that. Do I really fear the Lord in this area? And number 2, would I be willing to do whatever he says? Would I be willing to do whatever he says? Listen. This is the Practical Purpose Podcast. Listen, I need you to share this with as many people as you know, because again, like we say every time, these conversations that we have, and I know the chat is off, so I wasn't able to engage you like I normally do, but these conversations that we have, this is not limited to a certain group of people. Everybody who you could ever send this to are going to make difficult decisions. They're going to be faced with that. And they're in those moments, they're going to need something to help them as they are making those difficult decisions and those difficult choices. All right. It's critical to your success. All right. So in this series, dealing with difficulty, we talked about dealing with difficult people. And that's the one, if you go back on YouTube and look that one up, that's the one where the video was off. It's just the audio. So I'm going to redo that one at some point. But it was dealing with difficult people. Then we talked about dealing with difficult news. And then this one is dealing or making difficult decisions. And I wanted to clear that up, and I wanted to finish that out before the end of the month because I don't know when I'm going to be back on. But I want you to share this with as many people as you possibly can, so that they can develop the skill set and get the toolkit that they need to make difficult decisions. I told y'all we had 2 shout outs. First shout out was my brother, Raynard Jefferson. I'm putting him back on the screen again. Y'all go support. Send them a message on Facebook. Let them know Dungeon Family got your back. Like the Verizon man. But also my kids all the time are saying, Daddy, can you put us on YouTube? Daddy, can you put us on YouTube? Can you put us on the internet? We want the world to see us. So shout out to my kids, Micah, Bria, Caleb. Shout out to my brother for the soundtrack that you about to hear. My kids are some ballers. They hoop, they ball, and they're good. They're humble and they're good. So I'm gonna close out with letting y'all see, for their sake, my kids on YouTube, my kids playing some ball. Till next time, this is Dr. Williams signing out of the dungeon. Y'all be good.
I speak the truth that'll blacken your eye. Clip your wings if you think that you fly. Too much burning, you high. Could care less about your top 25. I'm rhyming cause it keeps me alive. What you know about my life? What you know about spitting scriptures in the mirror every night before you close your eyes? Everything that you write come from your soul, so you paint a clearer picture so vivid that it can't be denied. Truth is I can't hide. Come from a different cloth, different strain. You claim king while I brainstorm, it ain't the same rain. I see you on the gram talking about you entertain. Think this a game? Homie, well I ain't playing saying we are not the same. Know what I mean? You talking streams. Check with your marketing staff for just your schemes. Moonwalk out of this challenge like Billie Jean. I spit dope while you talking coke. It ain't the same thing. I'm writing for the blocks with a bullet shot out the chrome. Single mothers are praying that they babies make it home. For fathers on the grind, raising their kids alone. Finding solace in my poems. You just playing on your phone. I'm writing so much flame, it's hard to duck the smoke. I give it to you from the treble clef to the quarter note. Don't get it twisted, it's the 803. Speak up if you can rhyme like me. I'll wait.